Like, what's the typical process with somebody who's just getting started? They don't even have a business.
So if someone wants to access free capital from the banks at 0% interest, they just need to follow a few steps. And those would be, number one, incorporating their LLC. Number two,
Actually, I'll take a step back and just talk about business credit versus personal credit. Like, I've just seen this over and over again, like people with business credit offers, but it's like, in my own experience, very few people actually get business credit.
Yeah.
Like, what's the truth?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there's a lot of people out there that are selling this business credit stuff, and the offers vary from 0% interest business credit to net 30 cards, vendor cards, things like that. For me, it doesn't make sense for a lot of people to get these net 30 or vendor cards because, I mean, what are they going to use them on? Most people are not going to use the net 30 cards because they're so niched down that like they're practically useless. So the cards that people really need to get their hands on are the 0% business credit cards. And, you know, if you have an idea, if you're starting a business, if you're starting an investment, whatever it may be, and you're doing something independently, you know, you just have to be very smart about what NAICS code, which is your industry code, that you're going to use to actually go ahead and get funding.
Okay. So what's the typical process with somebody who's just getting started? They don't even have a business, but they're trying to get credit for their business.
Yeah. So if someone wants to access free capital from the banks at 0% interest, they just need to follow a few steps. And those would be, number one, incorporating their LLC on, InkFile, which is now busy.com. And they can do that in 5 minutes. Just skip all the upsells. Number two, they, want to make sure that their credit score is going to be good enough, because most of these business lending decisions actually for these business credit cards that are useful to people that, say, both of you and I work with, most of the people who get those business credit cards need to have good personal credit to qualify.
Right.
From there, you could go ahead and actually build out a funding plan of anywhere between 6 to 12 different banks, whether it be in your area, online, nationwide. And you put together that list of a couple of banks, and all you really have to do is apply from there. It's important to know the best strategy for each place, though, because there's some banks where if you apply online, you may only get a $10,000 limit. But if you do it some different way with maybe a DocuSign application or a relationship manager, you could get up to $50,000 or more.
Yeah, explain what that is, like with a relationship manager and everything.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that there are these relationship managers at the banks that help you get approved for massive limits, more than what an algorithm would typically give you. So say that you have, a business that you're starting, maybe it's like a day old, and you just go and apply online. You're going to get way different results just going ahead and applying with someone who could, under the table slip that application to underwriting, put in a good word for you and do it in a way where you're not being hit by the algorithm that may say, hey, we can only give you 10,000, but after further review with an underwriter, they could expose maybe $50,000 of credit. So getting in touch with these people, I think a lot of people are nervous to reach out to relationship managers because they think that the bank is very standoffish, that they don't want you to know their secrets.
Yeah.
And, face it too, everyone's at home behind a computer, behind a phone all day. They're not on the phone communicating all day, right? So they're having a hard time actually picking up the phone and calling the bank and just asking them simple questions like, hey, what bureau do you guys check? Or what's the maximum credit limit that you'll give on this card? Very simple questions. Or is there a better way I can apply for this card to secure my chances of getting a higher limit? These are very simple questions. I think a lot of people didn't think they knew they could ask. And that's all you really have to do to start digging around and finding the best strategy.
And that's how you'd get a relationship manager. Just
That's
literally
right.
calling them.
It's really calling them. It sounds very simple, but you're going to run into a lot of bankers that are just frustrating to deal with. It happens all the time. Like, there's some that are just really not cool. They're not really they're just there for a paycheck.
Yeah.
They're not really there to help small businesses grow. And it's always good to find the ones that want to help small businesses grow, that are willing to do anything and everything to make it work for you.
Yeah.
While there's others that are afraid. And if you find those that aren't giving you what you want, just hang up the phone and call a different bank.
So you got relationship managers. That's one thing that people need to do, not just, I mean, is there ever a time and place to just go on, like, I don't even know what these websites are, but you know, they show like the top 10 cards. Like, would you recommend just applying for the top 10 or what? Like,
That's such a good question.
Honestly, that's what I did.
It's true. I think that's a good, I mean, you can do that. There are those top 10 business credit cards, maybe on Nerd Wallet.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Nerd Wallet. And those are all good cards, right? Like they all have different cashback rewards. They have 0%. And I think the trick, however, is you're going to see the offer, but you want to make sure that you know the best strategy before applying. Because you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and then go, like we do this all the time with different banks. Like there's one bank in particular will apply online, but we have the underwriter flag the application. So they might get only approved for $3,000, but we throw it to the underwriter and we end up getting a $10,000 limit.
Got it.
And then another trick too is that sometimes people don't think they could apply with the same bank twice. So, you know, you may think that with this one bank, oh, I got 20,000, that's it. Little do they know they can get another $20,000 card, but it's all just about knowing the strategies. Sometimes those kinds of strategies too. Sometimes the business relationship manager isn't like forthcoming and telling you the full picture, like you can do this, because sometimes they're unsure about it too.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, people come to work with me, because we know sometimes what the bankers don't know, which sounds kind of weird, but it's because we're applying and then we're almost teaching them something new about the process because, you know, in the past, we've already been experimental with it. So we know, like with some of these banks where I would ask the relationship manager, hey, can I get 2 cards? And they would say, I don't know. And then I would go ahead and try, and then I would learn.
Like they're 2 different cards or 2 of the same?
2 different. If you're going to do it within a small frame,
so you might
of time,
you might get like an Amex Platinum and an Amex Gold or something.
Correct.
Got it.
Now, maybe give it 90 days or so. You could do like 2 Amex Golds, right?
Got it.
Or 2 Amex Blue Business Cash cards. You know, that's one that, you know, not a lot of people know about. You get 2 of the same card, just not at the same time. You could do it in 2 different units of time.
What about just like credit then? Like what kind of credit do you need for all this stuff?
Good question. Really, you just need a 700 plus credit score. A lot of these business gurus online are going to tell you that you need net 30 cards, vendor cards, but they're full of crap. I think that
like a net 30 card, just so people understand, like what does it mean?
It's really just like a vendor card. It's like it's like a net 30 account. Honestly, I can't even tell you much about it because like I don't really deal with that too much.
To me, a net 30 card is that you got to pay it back in full in 30 days. It's not even like, it's not a credit card. It's like you're getting 30 days of credit and you got to pay it back.
Yeah.
Versus you carrying a balance. Because I think like most Amexes are like net 30.
Yeah, there are a lot of charge cards with them. And actually to go off your net 30 point, another thing about that too is that they're looking at your Dun & Bradstreet number to, you know, actually give you that approval. So it's a lot less focused on your personal credit, which I think is where a lot of people get confused online, is that they think they need a business credit score, like a Dun & Bradstreet number to get approved for business credit, but you don't need a Dun & Bradstreet number. And I think a lot of these business credit gurus kind of like run these people in circles thinking that I need a Dun & Bradstreet number, but you only need a good credit score. You just need 700 plus. Like you could have 1 or 2 30-day late payments, not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You ideally don't want to apply with maxed out credit cards because you're giving the bank a reason to say no.
With that, what do you do with the people who have bad credit?
Good question. With bad credit, there's just not much we can do for them. Like,
do you send them to like one of those credit repair people or whatever?
Yeah, we'll just tell them like, we need you to do credit repair. Now, I haven't like dipped my toe too far into credit repair personally.
Yeah, I'm curious why you don't try to offer that like as a service. That's an interesting
good question.
Service.
It's just that this is definitely going to be a little controversial, but I just don't really want to, work with
Those
those
kind of
kind of
people.
people.
Yeah.
Not saying that all of them are bad, but it's just very risky business. I mean, look, I can't really guarantee that I'm going to get something off of someone's credit. I can't guarantee, like with sending dispute letters, it could be 6 months and someone's paying $100 a month and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, you never did anything for me, so I'm going to dispute all those charges.
Yeah.
And that's not good for your payment processor either.
Right.
So I think there's just there's not enough pros to the business.
It's
in
a
my
risky
opinion.
business as an owner.
Yeah, as an owner, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
Got it. Yeah, because I've seen a lot of people doing credit repair, and I've always wondered, like, I don't even know how they
There's a
charge.
lot of people
or-
that, yeah, do well with it, but it's definitely a highly, it's definitely not highly regarded as an industry.
Yeah.
It's not a very sexy business to be in.
Yeah.
I think funding I feel really good about because I know when I get a credit profile in my hand, I know what I can do with it, and I feel confident I can get those results. But with credit repair, the results are really out of my hands.
And they take a long time.
They take a long time. Yeah. Some people it may take a month. Some people it may take 2 years.
One thing you keep talking about is like the business credit cards.
Mhm.
Like, why not just get personals?
Yeah. I think the cool thing about business credit cards is that you could open up $250,000 of debt without affecting your personal credit. And a lot of people don't know that they can do this because they don't understand how a business credit card works. That you use your personal credit to get the business credit card, but when you open the account, it doesn't show up on your personal credit report. You also get way higher credit limits. I talk a lot about the business credit cards because I talk a lot about helping people start a business, start an investment, and it's just the fastest and easiest way to get $50,000 to $250,000 of
Who's
money.
qualifying though for 250K? Like, what do you got to be doing?
That's a great question. You got to have high income, so like six-figure income. It could be low six-figure income, and you have 800 credit score, and you also live in a lender-friendly state like Florida or Texas or Maryland is a good
Really?
place.
I didn't even think about where
Yeah.
you live. So
I've had-
where you
yeah.
live affects you.
That's right, because you have more. Where you live totally affects how much funding you get because you have different lenders available in your state than in other states. So I had a client that lived in North Carolina, and he just started his business. And within 20 days of getting his EIN, he got $228,000.
How?
Brand new business.
Because he himself, his personal income was already so high.
Yeah, his personal income was. I've done this with people with less personal income too, but his personal income was pretty high. It was like $500,000 a year.
Got it.
But I've done it with people who've had $200,000 a year income
Got it.
or 150 as well.
Yeah.
But with this in North Carolina, he had a lot of options, and he didn't. What I found very surprising was he didn't even have like crazy personal credit limits either. Usually, you have to have higher personal credit limits.
Yeah.
So they can see comparable trade lines. But he ended up getting every bank he went to, he was getting like 25 grand, 50 grand, 25 grand, 10 grand. He was just bringing in so much like approvals. It was insane. You could max out a Amex Gold card 100 grand and let the due date come around, and it won't report the balance that you have to owe in 25, 30 days. It won't show that balance.
So even if you were to like miss a
utilization.
payment, it's not going to affect your credit? How does that work?
Now, if you do miss a payment, then yes, it's going to show something there. I've
Got it.
personally never seen it because I've never been late on a business credit card payment. but yes, at that point, like it would likely show a late payment. On
So
your credit.
like, and this was kind of like what I was thinking was that. So is there any business credit that is truly just tied to the business?
There is.
Okay.
This is when you start going for this is going to be for some viewers they're going to be like, what do you mean by this? So this is where you start getting into personal guarantees versus no personal guarantees.
Mhm.
Right? Like personally guaranteeing to pay back the debt. So when you start getting into no personal guarantee, you start moving away from anything affecting your credit score. But the thing now that you have on the hook is more so going to be your business. And the problem with this is that so many people want no personal guarantee credit because they don't want to be responsible to pay back the debt in case something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost very hard to get for most people because you need to have a business that's producing a lot of revenue, that's showing a lot of consistency. And if it's not showing that consistency, it's going to be very hard to get.
Right.
It's like, why should the bank, like, I like to think about lending decisions in just common sense terms. Why would the bank lend you money if you're not qualified? Right? It's like you want no personal guarantee, but tell me about your business. Like, can you show me that you're consistently making money every month? Can you show me that you have equipment? Can you show me that you have something that I could take if you fail to pay this back?
Right.
And so that's where, like, when you start getting into business credit or corporate credit, right? Because Jeff Bezos has to have some kind of Amazon corporate card, right? So there, right? Like if Amazon or whatever, they have corporate credit cards, right? So if Amazon were like late on a payment or something like that, right? It's probably not going to ding Jeff Bezos' credit, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's when you start building a business, doesn't have to be that big, but it has to basically like have value where it's going to stand up no matter whether you're present or not.
How much credit do you have now, would you say?
You know, I definitely have over $1 million of credit.
Yeah.
So I've been able to get that though, starting from just one $1,700 card. And so it just was like continuously applying over and over, right? So similar to you, right? Like the first time I did it, I got around 30,000.
Yeah.
I used that personally for mentorships, right? I didn't use it on a flip. I used it on some mentorships.
Yeah.
Then those worked out. I paid down the cards, and then I saw another mentorship I wanted, so I did it again. I got another $50,000. And now I'm starting to get some charge cards too.
Yeah.
And I'm not really using them a lot yet, but I'm starting to just dip my toe in them.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say a year after that, right? Just to even give the time frames, right? This was, you know, I've had one personal credit card for a very long time, like from when I was 18.
How old are you now?
26.
Okay. So 8 years
Yeah,
of
yeah.
credit history.
Yep. So, but then I started the credit stacking stuff in December 2020. That's when I got 30,000. A year later, I got like another 50,000 or so. And that was in like December 2021. And then in November of 2022, I got like another 115,000, right? So I'm starting to, at this point, I had $100,000 of personal credit and around $115,000 or so of business credit. And I had an Amex Gold card, which at the time I had a spending power of, I think, around 250,000. And this is just growing over time. I think a lot of my own clients too, they want that. I want that $200,000 today.
Yeah.
They want that instant gratification now. And then they see me getting approved for all these credit limits, but they don't see the work that's gone into getting that stuff. Because then November 2022, I had all that credit. Fast forward to around like May of 2023, that's when I got the Chase card for $150,000.
Got it.
While I was a sales rep, I was learning, I had done credit stacking at this point. And when I was enrolling clients into this coaching program, I realized everyone had the same problem that I had, that they needed access to funding to invest in this, you know, mentorship.
Yeah.
So I started showing people the tricks that Manal showed me.
Yeah.
So Manal, this guy who taught me credit stacking.
You used it as your sales rep because it helped you get more closes.
Helped me get more closes, helped me get more commission. And I felt good about it because I felt like I was helping people get into a program I knew was working, because it sounds kind of funny, but I was selling sales training.
Yeah.
So like,
well, trust me, I've had every sales trainer on this show, you know, and I think about it, you know, funnily too, because like, you know, I've had Cardone and Jeremy Minor and Andy Elliott and, you know, Daniel G.
Yep.
I forget, but there's a bunch, right? And I always think about that because I'm like, yeah, they're selling sales training. And I was like, it's just funny.
Yeah.
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 It's like the coach who teaches you how to coach.
Yeah. Coaches coaching coaches on how to coach coaches
Yeah.
to coach coaches.
But they're needed, like sales training is needed and everything. So it's just funny though.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
Yeah. Yeah. It is funny. So yeah, no, I mean, but the way it happened was kind of funny, right? Because when I invested to go work with Dylan, he was working for someone else at the time. And and then 2 months after I went to go meet him, and this was like a window of opportunity. I took advantage of this at the perfect place at the perfect time. And so I invested into that. And 2 months later, he went to go start his own sales training business. And he said, Andrew, would you want to come work for my sales training business? I said, sure, I'll come do it. I want to learn the skill. I want to get better at it. So when I was working for him, dude, I actually watched, literally 2 days ago, I watched a video of me learning sales. When I was coaching with, I was terribly bad. It was so bad. I would not get hired in my own company.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one would want me. And I can't believe Dylan wanted me. I'm so fortunate for that because, I think he saw that I flew out there. I invested 0% credit in myself. I flew out there.
Yeah, you were committed. He knew that you would grind. And I've hired sales guys like that too, where I'm like, yeah, you're not very good right now, but dude, I can tell you're a dog. You're going to get better.
I was one of those guys. Yeah. So when I was working for him, that's when I was showing people how to get credit to buy his program.
Yeah.
And I felt so confident about it, right? Because I knew that it worked because it worked for me. It wasn't just because I was selling his product, but because my communication with my family got better. Communication with my friends got better. I used to be very shy, not confident. And now I can communicate, confront, and handle anything based on what he taught me. I started getting people funding. I started seeing all the credit stacking ads, and I realized I was doing it for other people already. I was getting a little tired of selling sales training. I saw that there's this opportunity to start a credit stacking business. I was like, I want to do that. I already have so much fun getting credit for people. It worked for me. I see I'm helping a lot of people with it. I think this would be so fun to do just full time.
Yeah.
So eventually I got tired of sales training and I was like, I want to go start this credit stacking business. And then I started running YouTube ads and now here we are.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
Only 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
2.5 years ago, I started this business. My first full month of operation was in March of 2022.
Yeah.
And I did 70,000 that month through YouTube ads. But a lot of people don't see it's building the skills, learning how to sell, learning how to market, learning how an org board works.
Yeah.
All this really important business stuff took place between August 2020 to March 2022.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was learning. Like I said, I sidelined the business for I guess technically 1.5, 2 years to really learn skills that were extremely valuable, use 0% interest credit to invest into mentorships. And the thing I think that most people don't understand is that a lot of these opportunities don't last forever. The person I learned sales from does not sell sales training anymore. The person I learned YouTube ads from, that was a once in a lifetime opportunity too. And I've learned these skills and I've had these mentors during these small periods of time that I was willing to commit right in that moment. And I was able to take advantage of those things because now I have, my own Andrewisms or Andrew knowledge.
Yeah.